So let's get into it, my guy. Super Bowl 2019. 49ers go into the fourth quarter with a 10-point lead. End up losing the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs. NFC Championship game last week. 49ers go into the fourth quarter with a 10-point lead against Sean McVay, baby brother for Shanahan. Rams come out, and in the first time in 7 games, they're able to get a victory over the 49ers. Does Kyle Shanahan shrink in big games, Jesse Naylor?
Oh, man. This one's tough because I feel like when we look at this question, we address it as Super Bowl, NFC Championship, that type of stuff. But every playoff game is a big game, right? And they did win multiple quote unquote big games before it all fell apart here against the Rams. They won big games before it fell apart, for the Falcons in the Super Bowl, and same thing for the 2019 Niners. They won big games. So I can't say that he shrinks in quote unquote big games, but I can tell you that in the fourth quarter of all playoff games, there seems to be an issue. And we can talk about the quarterback all we want, but dating back to that 2017 Super Bowl, so that Super Bowl going forward, 7 total playoff games, his teams have put up 9 offensive points in the fourth quarter in 7 playoff games. 0 touchdowns. That's an issue. Period. It doesn't matter, whether you won those games, whether you lost those games. 9 points in the fourth quarter of 7 playoff games. That's got to be fixed. So there is an issue there. I don't want to say that he shrinks because I look at McVay on the other side. To be real with you, I thought McVay was tripping over his own feet in that whole game. I thought he was pressing. He's sitting there calling crazy challenges and losing them. I don't know what he was doing or what his coaching staff was telling him with those challenges, but it looked bad. It looked like he was trying to blow the game. Fortunately for him, he had a quarterback that could bail him out. Shanahan didn't, and that was the end result. But yeah, there is certainly a problem in the fourth quarter of all these playoff games that has to be resolved. And unfortunately, people aren't. When I say 9 points in 7 games, people are like, well, they were blowing out some teams in some of those games, so it doesn't really matter. And that's true. But they did lose 3 of those games. And when you look at the history of the playoffs and really just the last few years, I think if I remember correctly, the number was 19-2 over the last few years of teams leading by double digits in the fourth quarter in the playoffs. And the 2 is the Super Bowl loss for the 49ers and the NFC loss for the 49ers, NFC Championship loss. So, yeah, it's an issue for sure. I can't say that he just shrinks in big games because they do win some big games, but there's certainly a problem at hand.
Kim, Kyle wilts under the pressure. Pressure can create diamonds or bust pipes. Let's see. Ryan says you have to say yes until proven otherwise. Paul Perryman throwing Shanahan some bail. How many of these games did we have the better quarterback? Very, very good point.
Here's the problem with that, Paul, is this happened with Matt Ryan. This happened with a 2019 49ers team. I get Jimmy was at the helm for both of these teams, but ultimately these are 2 different teams, 2 different franchises, 3 different teams that he's had these issues with. So to me, it is a trend.
So a lot of people throw it back to him being the offensive coordinator with Atlanta. I kind of just put that one aside because he was just the offensive coordinator there. There's a head coach and a defensive coordinator that all play a role in that game as well. So I throw him some bail on that game. Now, obviously, him as the head coach, the buck stops with him. You can't blame it on the defensive coordinator. You can't blame it on the offensive coordinator. It's you. That is your loss. You got to eat that L. However, something that gets lost in talking about Kyle Shanahan and his fourth quarter woes is the amount of success he's had so early in his coaching career. So to only be a head coach for 5 years and to be in 2 NFC championship games, already be in a Super Bowl, that is saying a lot. Now, the problem becomes is only one team ends up winning at the end of the season, right? And if you're not one of those one teams, obviously your season wasn't a success, quote unquote, if those are your goals. But also, that's when everybody's only watching one game. And that one game is the game that you're watching. So I was mentioning this on a show that I was doing with Mav. The coach for the Chargers calling the timeout in week 18, where it looked like the Raiders were about to run out the clock and both teams were going to make the playoffs. That play, nobody's talking about anymore because it was week 18 and there were so many games after it. The moments that Kyle Shanahan shrinks are moments where there is no real game afterwards, or it's just the Super Bowl afterwards. It's when everybody's watching. So everybody's going to have an opinion because they're watching this. And to me, I think it's more about a fifth-year head coach learning the ropes and having so much success, and then maybe not dealing with the intricacies or the moves that the counter punches that the opposing coach is doing, and having to learn that. And I think that's what a lot of coaches have to deal with. It's just Kyle Shanahan is learning at the highest level in the biggest moments with one of the most storied franchises in the league, right? So it's just everything gets exaggerated for him. And if you look at, this, it wasn't too long ago that Andy Reid was spoken the same way as Kyle Shanahan, right? For those of you that might not know, Andy Reid was epic with the Eagles. He was in every single NFC championship game. His offenses was doing great, and everybody looked at him as you couldn't win the big game, right? He made it to the Super Bowl once with a very, very talented team, multiple NFC championships, but he couldn't win the big game. Goes to Kansas City, wins one with Kansas City, and now all of a sudden nobody looks at him as a coach that can't win the big game, right? Now he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. He was one of the greatest coaches of all time before that. He just hadn't won the Super Bowl. So I look at Kyle Shanahan. I think that he's doing a great job. I think he's just a young coach. And I love that, we're getting to those games and we're starting to see Shanahan change in his demeanor, and bringing in a guy like Anthony Lynn, I think is going to help, that in the future, when this moment happens again, that he has another brain to maybe bounce some things off of that isn't just somebody who Shanahan built. You know what I mean? So it's going to be an outside thought process. Mike McDaniel, for however great he is, everything he has, he owes to Kyle Shanahan. Anthony Lynn isn't going to be that way. So I think that's going to be something that, bodes well moving forward.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I just, like I said, I don't want to say that he shrinks in big games because I think that would be unfair. But I mean, do you not agree that there's clearly a trend?
Absolutely.
9 points and 7 play. I mean, you're supposed to be. We can talk about how blowing the games maybe on the quarterback, or the Falcons game, you're playing against the GOAT and you weren't the head coach. I get that. Like, let's take blowing the games out of it. Like, who cares about how much they were up, period. Just the fourth quarter, though, whether you won the game, lost the game, regardless, 9 points and 7, that's worrisome to me. Like, you're supposed to be an offensive genius. 9 points in 7 games. To me, I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't want to make it as if he can't get over this, or, whatever the issue is. I just think that people are skirting it under the rug as if this is not a big deal. And I think it's a bigger deal than what people are willing to make of it.
Look, I think that there's definitely something to be said that Kyle Shanahan's plan A, when effective, is elite. The problem is when plan A isn't effective, I haven't seen plan B work very well. And that's, I think, where he needs to grow a little bit. And you look at least the 2 games in the playoffs that he lost with Kansas City. Kansas City had 2 weeks to all they had to focus on was the 49ers and the 49ers offense. The Rams is a team that's played the 49ers so many times, and have probably been focusing on this game, especially Sean McVay, for a long time. So these are both two teams that knew the 49ers very well, knew Shanahan's tendencies very well, and the defense, they made changes that Kyle Shanahan couldn't adjust to on the fly. And I think that's something that is a fair criticism is Kyle Shanahan needs to learn how to adjust quicker on the fly. And I also think having a quarterback that could make some plays without him having to come up with the perfect scheme is going to help take some pressure off of him as well. Because I'm pretty sure Zach, what's his name? Zach, the coach with Cincinnati,
Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor, that play where Joe Burrow is dancing through the offensive line and, somebody's on his ankles and he's just like high stepping out of it and stuff like that. Pretty sure that wasn't drawn up that way. You know what I mean? So to have a quarterback that could do that makes the coach look a lot better as well. Kyle Shanahan hasn't had that ability to have a quarterback make him look better than he actually is. Hopefully Trey can be that guy. And so, maybe Shanahan gets that win, right?
Yeah, for sure. And trust me, I mean, good and great quarterbacks definitely will make you look better than what you are. I think Brian Daboll is a great example of that. I don't know what the hell he's going to do with the Giants. I think that dude's absolute trash, but we'll see.
You don't think Danny Dimes is going to come out here and make Daboll look like a king?
No.
Maybe
Jimmy Garoppolo will. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo will.
You mean Quan? What you say, Quan? Say Quan is out there. Danny Dimes is out there. Bruh. They stacked over there with the Giants. Giants 2022-2023 NFL Super Bowl champions.
They're going to run the ball 4 times a game with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, I think we're both on the same page. Definitely Kyle Shanahan doesn't have it all figured out. Still a young coach, still is improving week after week. And we talked about it on an episode, I think maybe last week or a couple weeks ago. You're starting to see Kyle Shanahan mature as a coach.
Yes.
Which is something that you wanted to see. I think bringing in Anthony Lynn is more proof. I don't think Kyle Shanahan, year 3 Shanahan, year 2 Shanahan would have ever brought somebody like Anthony Lynn into his coaching staff that was a former head coach, strong-minded individual that, can have the aura of a head coach there beside him. I think this bodes well for Kyle Shanahan, showing that, hey, maybe I need some more help. Maybe I do take on too much and it's hurting me in these big moments where I'm thinking about too much rather than maybe just focusing on, simplifying the game for me so I can make better choices, when it comes to late game situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So go